Welcome to Tom's Heather Mountain Ride, late season 2021. If you just want the executive summary, I finally got an overnight trip in. I got my sunset pictures. I spent a windy night in the tent. On day 2, I goofed around on the bike for a few hours, then loaded the bike back into the van and went home. No spectacular crashes or injuries. Click like and subscribe and I'll let you go home early. Like many rides, it starts with a bypass for a large red metal barrier. There are other ways in, but nothing you'd get a minivan through.
Ha! Luggage fits. And with that out of the way, the rest of this should be trivial. There it is. Hello!
2 surprises. A mama bear with 2 cubs and some bike trouble. I wish bike trouble was a surprise.
I'm sorry.
This tends to be an annual event, but since the purpose is to get sunset pictures and October-November weather tends to be lousy, it is hard to schedule, and consequently I'm riding solo. Most of the guys who might have come are busy due to Vidra's messed up by COVID. Late season racing schedule. There are 2 camp spots I could use. The top of the trail is 1,100 meters and has the best view. Unfortunately, it is wide open and I expect it to be very cold overnight, so I'm going to set up the tent about halfway up instead. And then I'll go out for dinner with a view and ride back after the sunset. I'll take the rest of my gear with me as I expect it to get cold very fast. This is a cool campsite. I believe Devin and James found it. There's a nearby view to the west, so you can skip the top of the trail and watch and drink from here if you wish. There's also a coffee nook with a view to the south for the morning. I was doing the mental checklist of stuff I wanted to have up top, and when I hit headlamp, I realized I'd left my camelback/backpack in the van. So that'll be a bit of a detour, but of course it's glorious road to ride. The track to the top is a little rougher than the track to the halfway point. If it wasn't for the gate, the only big bike challenge would be that it is steep. The other entrance involves a steep creek crossing and it may get blocked as they appear to be logging over there. The top of the track really is gorgeous. Instead of looking out through a gap in the trees, you can see pretty much everything. And the setting sun sees everything too, so the lighting is beautiful.
So the trail up to the summit leads off right off of here.
The storyline requires that I show you a sampling of the amazing views up here, but since I've been here many times, my footage is lousy. I'm going to steal some stills from 2018 and some time-lapse from 2019. And this is back to the present. Dinner was nothing fancy, pork chops and some buns and only a touch of rum as I'm quite nervous about the ride back in the dark.
It was a pretty sweet sunset.
Fortunately, the ride back was pretty trivial. Unfortunately, the campsite really was too windy for a fire. I sat out, wrapped in many layers to watch the last colors drain from the sky, and then crawled into bed early. Frankly, it was a long, cold, and windy night. Day 2 starts with the sun shining on the tent. I forgot the coffee, so there's no need to fire up the camp stove. The one good thing about the wind is that it seems to have kept the chill away. The big question is, what now? This is a great area for riding, and there are more than a few areas I've looked at exploring, but I didn't review any of those plans before leaving, and even worse, it appears that I didn't shut down the GPS last night, so the batteries have died. After a quick meal, the campsite was packed up, loaded onto the bike, and taken down the hill to the van. I had worried about the van getting vandalized, but someone else decided to park next to it and camp at the Little Shaw wreck site. I couldn't have asked for a better caretaking service. I decide on a little loop that will take me a few kilometers north, then let me run west on Nitnat, Maine, then south on Granite, Maine, and connect to Kaikous via an ATV track. Hopefully. James had said that there were some bad washouts on Granite, Maine, but the last report was that they were passable with some work. From Kaikous, it'll be just a short jaunt around the northwest end of the lake back to the van. As has been said, plans are useless, but the process of planning is invaluable. It didn't take long for me to see a track that I had wanted to explore last year when Jammer and I were trying to get to Heather Lake. It appeared that you could get within a kilometer or so of the Mount Hooper summit, and most of the way up. But the condition of the road was a total unknown. The satellite image showed it as mostly green, which often means totally overgrown. Only one way to find out. This turns out to be another gorgeous track, but definitely a candidate for the road less traveled. One big tree down and I'll have to turn around.
That's looking like a showstopper. Not easy, but that's mostly rock, not mud. We're getting to the point where I wish I had company. I'm really not comfortable doing this solo.
It really wasn't that big a deal.
This is interesting. We're now getting markers. Nuke shoots. Alright, so this is the end of one road. Lake's down here, this whole thing's sloughed away. And even if we did manage to get past the sloughed away, all the logs and shit and what have you, it's just, this is where you stop riding. The peak is up there somewhere. Unfortunately, all I have is OpenStreetMap because the GPS is, I forgot to turn it off. I didn't bring the right boots, I don't really have the right climbing gear, so this is definitely the road less traveled. It's a good climb, it's an interesting adventure. Making it up to that height, making a climb out of it and up to that summit with a rock, just that one creek crossing that was a bit on the technical side. There was a nut on the back of this and I've still lost it.
From here, it was back to the granite main plan. The slides in granite had been repaired and were shown earlier. Loaded the van and headed homeward. Only complaint was that I shouldn't have been driving on a sunny afternoon, but there were reasons for that. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you out there.